our talking holiday courses. We have Lucinda there for human journalism, as you know, this is supported by the Progress Management USC, and interesting conversations about the state system in all areas, including human journalism. So we all elected to do.
As said, Dr. Lucinda is in the School of Media and Communications and Tourism, and we're just super excited to have her here today. She got her PhD at the University of Maryland. After that, she went on to Elon University, where she was an assistant professor, and now is here at UNC. We're very happy about that. She does research in social media's influence on strategic communication initiatives, looking at things like health and crisis information, a lot of how is it that the media frames how we view injuries, how we view public relations issues, how is that we can communicate and effectively get people thinking about different crises that pop up. She's won a whole bunch of awards. I can't remember any of these acronyms, but hopefully they sound impressive to you, because they do to me. So she's won the AEJNC Promising Professors Award, the AEJNC Public Relations Division Superstar Award, the Arthur W. Page Center's Legacy Educator and Legacy Scholars Awards, and the NCAA's Pride Award. Among others, there's a long list here. So we are very, very fortunate to have Dr. Austin here. I would like to see two things to be thinking about as we move into our conversation. There was the tragic fatality involving the Uber autonomous vehicle recently, and I think it's important to consider how the media approaches that and how maybe we as traffic safety professionals can approach that, how they come with collisions and framing. And then the other is just the pedestrian collisions that have happened here, or the recent motorcycle collision here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, looking at how is it that people are talking about these things. Do they talk about congestion? Do they talk about the loss of human life? Who do they place the blame on? So keep these things in mind as you listen to Dr. Austin speak, and then with that, I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you. So it's nice to be here with you. Wish it was not a rainy, yucky day and we had to take the bus and everything. But it was good. We got a chance to kind of walk in. I got to talk to some of you on the way, which was very nice. Today I am talking a little bit about, as my title says, framing theory, but also communication theory, communication campaigns in general. I had the opportunity to chat with Seth and Wes earlier, and I learned that you have not had really any communication perspectives yet in this lecture series. So really what I'm looking at is more of a general, broad sense of what makes communication effective, what do we know about their effectiveness, how do they drive behavior change, what are some of the message design theories and things like that that we know about, and it's in very broad sense. So let's start at the basics, because I don't know how many of you actually know what a campaign is, how this is defined. What is a communication campaign? This is from Rice and acted on public communication campaigns. These are for the public good, the social good, so not a marketing campaign or corporate campaign. Their purposes, so they're strategic, attempts to inform or influence behaviors. So not just behavior change, but also inform. So this could be knowledge, this could be awareness, attitudes, other things that we're seeking as outcomes here. In large audiences, so typically when you think of a campaign, you think of a mass audience. So this is not an intervention, which is a small setting or not a one-on-one kind of thing. Usually they have a specified time period. So this is within a certain date, a 5-year campaign, a 10-year campaign. There's a range set. You have an organized set of communications activities, so your strategies, your tactics, things that you're using, an array of mediated messages that should be coordinated in some way through multiple channels. We talked about that in a minute, all the different options we have, and the public campaigns and non-commercial. So we often think about advertising campaigns, public relations campaigns, and things like that. But this, the public communications campaigns, they have a bit of that exposure to the campaign. So just to recap those, again, changing attitudes, behavior, or informing, they're strategic, they're coordinated, so they should really be thinking strategically, smartly about how to coordinate messaging through consistent, multiple, repeated messages through your different channels, through your different platforms, and really time-specific in the sense that you have a limited time range, and you might be coordinating your message strategy related to that. They can involve multiple levels. So we often think about mass media campaigns like television advertisements, and we think about things that you see on social media, things like that. They can be at the interpersonal level, the individual level. You're looking to change oftentimes individuals' behaviors. That's the individual level. You're asking them to make a change in their lives. Interpersonal, you may be asking them, friends don't let friends drive drunk. So the that campaign where you're trying to get someone to take an action for a friend, or encouraging someone to discuss, like HIV is, to discuss testing with a partner. They're trying to prompt their partner to actually create and think about that change. Organizations, you may tap into community-based organizations, like schools, other churches, other groups in the community. And that kind of relates to this really organizational, they're kind of basically together here. And also the community level, so that's beyond organizations in the community, but it could be community departments of health, it could be community organizations, community government, things like that on a more local scale. And then you have this greater sense of policy, society, this kind of greater impact at that level. And a lot of research has shown that campaigns are more effective if they tap into more. So it's not just saying, I want you, individual person, to make behavior change, but okay, we're also going to change society, we're going to change structures, we're going to change systems, we're going to change policy to support you making that behavior change. So those things can work in conjunction, can work together. Multiple channels. So I just put this list up here as an illustration of the many, many types of channels you can use. You should use more than one generally. Think about how fragmented our media is right now. It'd be really hard to reach your audience probably with just one of these channels. You don't need all of these channels though. So would you, if you had a campaign on older adult falls, would you be advertising or your campaign messages on social media? Probably not, right? You wanted to match up with your audience, so you're thinking about targeting in that way. But you also need to think about where all of your audiences are going to get their information that's relevant to what you are, your campaign is about. So if it's driver safety or road safety, where is the place that they would be more likely to tune into or pay attention and engage with that kind of information? That's the kind of thing that you want to think about when you're thinking about your channels. So what has been effective? What is our track record here for evidence of success? This is a meta-analysis done by Seth Moore, who's actually here in the School of Journalism here at UNC. And he's done a lot of meta-analysis research on the effectiveness of campaigns. And really, in the 40s, 50s, we had kind of minimal effects. We were starting to see effects of communication campaigns. We were starting to realize there were certain effects of government, propaganda, things like that. We weren't seeing as much on the public or the health communication kind of side yet. But in the 60s and 70s, we were starting to see the campaigns really kind of succeed. There's more success here. There were programs like the Stanford Obesity Heart Disease Prevention Program that really did show a great significant success rate. And scholars really began to shift here from blaming the recipients of the campaign, saying you're just not following our directions, to saying actually maybe we are not designing good. Well, we know more now about what a good campaign looks like. Let's not blame them, let's blame us and do better. So in the 80s and 90s, this was more of a moderate effects area. People were starting to kind of implement more of what we knew, our knowledge. There was an increased understanding about how campaigns work. And then we moved into 2000 and beyond the conditional effects era. So if it's a well-designed campaign, it's pretty likely to be successful. If it's not well-designed, it can still not be effective. But a lot of the principles and best practices were really formalized and kind of set into place. There's been a lot of creativity, just because there's so many more campaigns kind of oversaturated and flooded now. And so some of the things that we knew as best practices that work, they're not getting attention, or they're not really working through the clutter, so there's increasing creativity. The challenges like that as well. So in the same research paper that Seth and Moore completed, we really tried to drill down to what were basic tenets across all of these campaigns that were effective that made them effective. What do they have in common? So these are really principles, drivers of effective campaigns, according to this. They conducted formative research with their prior audiences. So for the people whose behavior they wanted to change, they did some preliminary research to determine basically what their pre-existing knowledge, attitudes, beliefs, all of that kind of stuff was, to be able to tap into which theory was appropriate. And then they use that theory. They use appropriate message design theory to be able to create behavior change. They segmented audiences. So they said, these audiences need this kind of message. These audiences need a different kind of message. And they were able to determine how to target those messages appropriately. So it wasn't a one-size-fits-all kind of campaign. People may be in different stages of action, contemplation, before thinking about action. They selected appropriate channels. They talked about channels. And then they strategically positioned the messages within them. So they reached the right people at the right time. And they conducted process and outcome evaluation. The process evaluation is especially important here, thinking about as you go, are you getting good reach? Are you getting positive feedback already? Or maybe you need to course correction, because maybe the campaign is not actually having an effect that you needed to, and you can change the stream. So that was something that was a common trend here. And then this study by Anchor also says the right topic and the right theory, which that's a really big piece of the puzzle here, is how do you know what theory is right for what topic? It really does depend on that formative research. So you really have to think carefully about that in terms of what theory for your audience is more likely to help drive that theory. So what about the numbers? What percent change are we likely to see? These are some based on a series of meta-analyses by Snyder et al. And so their research found that an average of 8 to 9% change in desired behavioral outcomes. So behavior change, so not just information, awareness, attitudes, actual behavior across the board for these are health communication, public health. So they consider road safety as part of that, as part of the top. For those that involve policy, it's much higher. So we see 17%. So if there's some kind of policy enforcement, if there's seatbelt laws, if there are things like that in place, it's higher. But the average change for those without policy enforcement is about 3 to 5%. So it's going to be lower without that kind of comparison there. We're going to talk a little bit about if policy is always right. There's downside of policy in a second too. But that's something to keep in mind. This policy is in combination with other kinds of strategies. Yes.
What time frame are we talking about there? Is this after a year? Is this several years?
I don't know. They're different. So usually these are the ends of the. I don't think they're a long term out. I think most of them are immediately after. I don't know if they did anything, which would certainly be smaller, right? The effects would be. That's a great question because a lot of our research in the field doesn't do that. They don't spend the money. They're like, oh, we were effective, so they just don't have the money for that follow-up. Great thing. So this is another meta-analysis, some examples of campaigns for road safety that they found to have some effectiveness or decent effectiveness. They've seen campaigns for reductions in the frequency of road accidents and deaths through increasing seatbelt usage. That's been successful. Booster seats, helmets for bicyclists, skateboarders, motorcyclists, reductions in speeding, driver fatigue, drunk driving. All of these have had at least marginal success in some type of a campaign. There are distracted driving campaigns going on. Now there's not a lot of evidence of effectiveness yet. And it would be interesting to see. I've studied it in that. I haven't seen any kind of evaluation yet. It's my computer. It's configuring Windows updates. That's fun. So until it reduces, I can go with this. Yeah, I thought I did something, but I think it just decided it was going to do something. So I was going to show you some of the numbers for the different road safety related campaigns, and they're pretty similar to the average. So for the numbers here for these, there's some promising results. So the average associated decline in vehicle crashes has been estimated to be at least 7%. So these are for national campaigns. For vehicle crashes and alcohol impaired driving specifically to be about 13%. So that's probably including policy, I would imagine, in that analysis. The designated driver program results have been much increased. So that was part of the meta-analysis. And interestingly, in this, and I don't know if anyone knows, in this meta-analysis, they actually cited North Carolina, which was very interesting. I thought this was out of the journal, Race Overseas. And they cited Quick in a Ticket, actually, was the one, and increase in seatbelt use from 63% to 80%, according to the numbers that were reported for the campaign, as well as how it does. And then a version in Washington State of Quick in a Ticket reported increase from 83% to 95% seatbelt usage. So those are some that have been, in meta-analysis, have been shown to be more effective. And we definitely know from kind of the public health sector, oftentimes because don't let things back down from those kinds of things, understand as it's initial success or positive kind of use of money and some of those kinds of things.
The top question.
Yeah.
Where does Quick in a Ticket originate? No one knows the answer to that?
Yes.
Right here.
Right here.
Did it?
Yes,
And you're cited in this journal article. That's awesome.
Just a shameless plug.
Yes, I was excited to see that. That was the one kind of example of the most effective. So that was pretty nice. It's going to take a lot of things to do with my young business. So I wanted to ask you all, I'll ask you a question, because that was my next slide. We're going to transition to whatever. Emission policy change further. So, is policy change always a good thing? What do you think? What could be some unintended effects of policy change? Yes.
Well, when the policy doesn't align with best practices, that it's gotten watered down in order to be passed, and so people are under the impression that whatever the law says is really safest for them.
That's a great point. So that's not necessarily with their compliance, but that's with it's just not even looking at the results.
I think.
Just in the news right now, it's something we're talking opioids, the death penalty for drug traffickers who are in many cases also addicted to drugs. And concretely on seatbelts, from some analysis we did here in North Carolina, that seatbelt related stops have some of the highest ratio severity. Well, the ticket, but it has disproportionately applied in different neighborhoods for use for other purposes besides safety.
So that is the consequences that, yes, it's going to be driving seatbelt usage, but then you have these other consequences. Anything else that we can do? Yes.
In the area of drinking driving, some states have passed laws that are trying to crack down on drinking drivers because it's only so severe that police officers and judges don't do this.
They don't even agree with that. Well,
You've got one more back here.
got one more.
One more.
Oh, one more. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
Like the texting and driving laws.
Yeah.
So sometimes instead of it used to be illegal today, people might have it like on the dashboard and then kind of looking at the dashboard. And in that case, again, they're either focused on it and they're in the work position.
Yeah.
So that's bad. So, let's take it legal. Then sometimes they don't want to get caught over the top here. So they just pull the phone down here.
So they're actually looking even lower.
So now they have not even critical over there.
Yeah. And this really kind of ties into too, like if it's something that, like the texting and driving, it's something that somebody's looking into. If it's something that is, I don't know if it's an addiction, but a lot of people say that phone use is an addiction, and it's something where it's really hard for people to actually turn that off. So if they're going to do that anyway, what is going to happen in that case? So this was kind of tied into this question. I want you to consider a scenario too. So we're going to talk about, at the flip side of this, it's similar to what we talked about. In the 1960s, Florida City banned the sale of phosphate detergents. Phosphates were banned for environmental reasons, and phosphates were not shown to have any impact on the cleaning effectiveness of the detergents. In the weeks before the ban went into effect, stores reported ammonium phosphate containing detergents. After the ban went into effect, stores and cereals reported a drop in sales. So that's good, right, for this campaign. But stores outside of the city limits reported increases in the sales of the phosphate detergents. All right, so maybe that's not good, right? What does that tell us? Why do you think this happened? Yeah.
The public has some sort of perception that there's something superior about phosphate detergents. Before the ban went into effect, they got all they could from where it was available. After it went into effect, they bought their detergent elsewhere where they could still get phosphate detergent.
Exactly. And part of this is because of these serious reactions. And so we can look at this with gun control now. So when we say, we are going to ban certain guns and that kind of thing, gun sales increase on some of those, especially before a ban. So the same kind of thing with this detergent. Because there's this perceived threat to freedom, right? So this is some psychology here, psychological reactions. If your freedom is eliminated or even just threatened, so you feel that threat, maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not going to happen, that then you are in this state where really you feel like your only choice is to reestablish this certain freedom. So that's kind of the motivational state that you're in. So you're actually going out and doing the exact thing that you're doing for months, right? So in some cases, you have an increased desire. So it's kind of an overperformance of something that maybe wasn't even that important to you before in some cases. But now you're being told you can't do it, so you want to do it more. I had another example here. I took it out from happening for space reasons, but think about like a toddler. I have 2 little kids. If I tell my toddler, like, you can't have this, they want it, like, all the time, right? And so they're in a throw fit kind of thing. So it's the same kind of thing. Even though we are grown-ups, we are adults, we still have these kind of irrational, sometimes, responses that we can't always explain in our behavior. So some assumptions of reactants. Individuals have a basic need for self-determination. We want to control our environment so that we can. So if we thought we were free to do something before and now we're not, that can impact us. And sometimes, again, we do behave instinctively and emotionally. So a lot of these theories are based on the fact that we don't always know exactly why we do what we do. We can't always articulate that. Sometimes we make choices based on cues in our environment and things like that. And so we want to be aware of that as designers of messages as much as we can, because we don't want to cause them to effect. Some recent studies have shown also that guilt and fear fuels in messages, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, can cause reactants. And so there's an example of an anti-drug PSA campaign. This is the Youth Anti-Drug Media Campaign from the Office of National Control and Policy. And basically, they had really overt guilt and fear fuels. They created increased drug usage in measures. The goal was to decrease drug usage, to spend millions of dollars on the campaign. So you really want to avoid these unintended consequences related to that stuff that can happen from reactants. And if you're interested in this stuff, there's some great research on the unintended outcomes of health communication campaigns. Reactants is one of the laundry lists. So there are lots of other ones too. So what does this mean? Not all communication is good communication. We really want to be careful in what we're doing. For reactants in particular, if we place what seems to be an unfair restriction on somebody, so I can give you an example of the judges, and them not feeling that they may not even enforce that if they think it's unfair, but also if people think it's unfair, then they more likely to have that reactance. And if you have to place this policy, put this policy in place, make sure people understand why it's or what the purpose of it is, which can be hard to do. One more kind of interesting example. This was a study that was done. They wrote 2 different signs on college bathroom walls. Do not write on these walls under any circumstance, and please don't write on these walls. Or you can have them up in the stairs. Don't under any circumstances. So yeah, so basically, if you tell people not to do something, you have the exact opposite. So you mentioned framing earlier. So if we go into framing, framing theory has been studied a lot in media and political communication and this kind of realm. And to frame, as it's discussed here, is really to select, you see her hands here, kind of like your viewpoint, a window. It's kind of like creating that window or that viewpoint through which to view an issue. So you're trying to say exactly how you think the issue should be framed for a certain problem, how the problem should be defined, what the process should be put in place, what the moral evaluation is, what the treatment is. And you're really thinking about how to tie in mental shortcuts. So what people think about, maybe they have values in their lives, things that they hold dearly, their spouse, that you can tap into already. Ways that they understand the world, that it's easy for you to tap into. It doesn't take as much work if you're able to kind of tie into those kinds of structures. And we'll make this more concrete in just a second. But we know that people who use these mental shortcuts, they use visual cues and heuristics, and they don't always think about every argument, read it in great detail, right? They're looking for cues to tell them, is this a good thing to do? Is this a bad thing to do? And so, unfortunately, a lot of bad people use this and manipulate, and we see a lot of political conversation going on right now, where people frame things as an issue that really is maybe not even about that issue, it's about something else. So people use this. But oftentimes, our issues are connected to values that people hold. They just may not make that connection themselves. And one more bit before I go forward. The media often kind of create this dominant frame. So maybe there's already a dominant frame out there about traffic, road safety, those kinds of things, specific issues. And we may be challenged to kind of move up and be up against that too. So that's an extra. We're not always controlling the frame. Oftentimes we are trying to gain back control or fight against the dominant frame that may already be out there through media. And Seth and I talked about this one too, like blaming the victim or victim narratives or some of those kinds of things that may be out there. So, in some of the framing research that I've done for CDC's Injury Center, they created a framing guide, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. But we really looked at and appealed to values that the audiences already had. So, what did they value? What was important to them that we could tap into? How could we really connect to that? How could we change how media responds to issues? That's really hard to do, and how the media frame it. So, for example, we were looking at how all of their scientists, all of their specialists, everyone, whenever they did a media interview, whenever they talked to media anyway, they had the same language, the same terminology, framing it exactly the same way to try to help make that shift. And really, if you are good at this, you can create a bigger shift. It's going to take time. If there's a dominant paradigm already out there that we're trying to go against. This is the example. So this was for CDC, this was a guide for communicating about injury that was internal. So all of CDC's Injury Center, and part of that includes motor vehicle safety, that's a unit within CDC's Injury Center, for everyone to be able to really frame their talking points and everything in the same way, tapping into the same values. We did a lot of formal research with audiences to see what different audiences value the most. So for parents, we had different kinds of frames. One frame that resonated with a lot of folks was the ability for their children to live to their full potential. So that the key before all of that, though, was that injury is preventable. So a lot of the dominant frame out there is that injury is an accident. So it's an accident. It's not something. It's uncontrollable. That accident kind of takes away that energy of control. And so that was part of the frame. It's preventable. Here's the science. Here's what we know. It's preventable. And then if we prevent it, here's what happens. It's happening with those values. There was some message development tools that were created, and part of that, this is social math, so we know a lot about statistics and narratives and the effectiveness of those. Statistics can be effective, but they're often hard for people to understand the messages. And so part of what they did too is to create some social math examples for all of their different issues and help talk about statistics in a way that audiences can actually understand. This is an example right now of the image from CDC's Injury Center for distracted driving. So it's a 55 miles per hour simulated execution on off the road for about 5 seconds, long enough to kind of football field. So you can easily kind of imagine the length of the football field. You can kind of visualize what that means. And so little talking points like that for media talking points, for campaigns, things like that as well. So a couple other things for message design theory. There are a couple of other, message design theories. I'll probably just give you some snippets. Inoculation theory and affect and motion fields, we're going to talk about those. Has anyone ever heard of inoculation theory? Okay. So this is more from psychology, but this is kind of like a vaccine, the notion that you can inoculate someone against a future message they may receive. And again, thinking about the political realm, we see a lot of that now, like where they say, you may hear this message from the other party, but don't be fooled, it's that kind of thing that's going out there. But this can be done also for health communication. So if we know there's another kind of dominant frame level that we can hold against, and people are going to hear that message in their near future, and they get a message from you that kind of goes up against that, then the next time they hear that message, they're more likely to kind of second guess and think about what they're doing. So can any of you think of an example of inoculation theory in action where you've seen messages coming from this?
Well, I'm developing the negative personality, and I wish you could think of an example, maybe the one time that things may be argued in a good way. You see the notion of fake news and the way that is just used to make everything else that follows it. So think of
That's a great example on the flip side of really thinking about the idea that kind of, this is coming. One example that, they use a lot of other theory too, but the Truth Campaign for anti-smoking, they were trying to get youth to critically evaluate ads from tobacco companies. And so they were saying, here's what the tobacco companies do. Here's the truth, right? And so they were trying to kind of empower them. They were also using other theory as well, but that was part of it. And so when they got those messages and then thought about, oh yeah, interesting, I never actually thought about that. So they are trying to manipulate me. They're trying to sell me something. They're trying to. So that's kind of an example, but there are lots of other examples. Affect and emotion are probably some of the most common in terms of what we think about when we think about message design. All of these are common types of appeals. We probably hear most about the appeals and talk about these in more detail because they are more common. But we also have guilt appeals, trying to make people feel guilty for if they're not helping other people. Friends don't let friends drive drunk, even though that was trying to tap into kind of like social norms and stuff like that. That's really guilt appeal, right? Like you're not a friend if you let someone do that. But it was not an extreme guilt appeal, so less likely to have reactions in that sense. Anger, disgust, there's some research that shows if you have anger and you have efficacy, you're more likely to take action. There's a model called the anger activism model. So we talked about this at our chat too, about how if people are coming together to share stories, maybe their parents or victims of traffic accidents and different things like that, then if they're angry and they're coming out and they're mobilizing, they may be more likely to actually do the intervention. Warmth and humor, then there's mixed results for that because it depends on the topic, it has to be a good match, that kind of thing. And then fear appeals. So I mentioned these are the most common of the emotion-based types of appeals. So they really are trying to say, if you don't do this, or if you do this, either way, then something bad is going to happen, right? So it's trying to scare you into. We could probably all think of millions of examples, right? Driving safety, you can think of my high school days, seniors and seniors, they brought a wrecked car out of the football field and had, everybody sit out in the bleachers and talk about, this is what happens if you drink and drive and that kind of thing. There's lots of PSAs that are very graphic, very detailed. What do you think? Do you think fear appeals work? No? You think it can work? It's a little tough in this field, I think, because they've been overused, and I think we've seen a lot of them, so there's some desensitization there. In the interest of time, I won't show these, but I can make these available later, but this is an example of something mild fear field, and this is one that actually uses warmth or seagulls. And so it's really, I'll show you. Because we've all seen fear fields. I won't show that one, but I will show a clip of this one. But you may not have seen one that actually uses warmth or seagulls. It seems a little confident. No. It's on my screen. Sorry, we may postpone it. It's playing online. I'm not sure what's not happening. All right. Well, it's basically a very artful, very creative portrayal. This is from I think in the UK, and it's a man who is you don't really realize what he's doing at first. He's sitting in his living room in a chair between the door. And then it looks like he's in a crash. He's kind of acting around. His family comes in for him to see what he owns. His daughter is dressed up in a very costume, very music gown. His wife, and then a bolt of glitter goes flying, and it looks like glass, like the windshield's been impacted. He flies forward and falls back and onto the screen. And it's basically kind of connecting to that idea of, maybe if you're this man, you may not wear this seatbelt for yourself, but you may wear this seatbelt for your family, to be there with them. And it's really effective in terms of the outcome research that I've seen, but just a really different way, really interesting way, and maybe more effective because you do see so much more of what you see is the fear fields. You see the opposite of that, right? So it's kind of going against that norm there. So for fear fields, we used to believe that the more fear, the more effectiveness, like we hear over on. And so now research has shown really that too much fear, again, that reactions, that backlash. So now they think the relationship is more feeling, so more developed. So low fear, low persuasiveness, high fear, low persuasiveness, moderate fear is more what you see more persuasiveness. And there's an interesting model, if you're interested in this, the extended parallel process model, which looks at anger, or fear, with efficacy. So for this one, if you perceive that you can, this behavior is in your control, you can make a difference, like efficacy, self-efficacy, and then response efficacy, that if you perform that behavior, it would make a difference. So if I wore a seatbelt, it would be effective, it would save my life. That's the response efficacy. If you have those in place, or if they're induced by the message in the campaign, then fear is going to drive you to take protective action. If you don't have that in place, then you may, it's kind of fight or flight, you may take defensive action. You run away from the problem or just not think about it at all. So our very last framework to consider here, this is not a theory, this is a framework called social marketing. This is not social media marketing, so we're not thinking about Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. This is actually marketing principles for the social good. So this framework, it's kind of a theoretic perspective, it's more of a framework. It uses the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. So product is how do you make that product or service which is maybe more less attractive. You create a new product, you change the car so it drives better. You do some kind of innovative thing for the system or the structure in place. Price, how do you minimize cost, maximize reward? Place, how do you make it more accessible, convenient, appealing at the point of decision? So if you're in a bar, if it's, where you're deciding to drive home drunk or not, where that's that point of decision, what can you do in that place to make a difference? And then the communication part of this information. So how do you do all of that through the channels and everything? Give you an example of a product place price strategy. This is from Wisconsin. They implemented a limo service for drinking men, ages 21 to 34. Pretty cheap, so that has the price element there. They saw a 17% reduction in fatalities, no decrease in alcohol consumption. That wasn't their goal, and that's not, so they didn't threaten their freedom, right? They didn't say you can't drink. They said drink all you want. They actually relaxed them in a way because they could, they had this benefit for the price. They had a benefit of they could relax and they didn't have to worry about that. It's a product because they actually created a product, right? So this is a product. And place is at the bar, so it's where it's coming up to them at their point of decision about whether to drive home or not. This is some more examples. This one's an audio, so it should work if I click on it. These are both kind of products in place. I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is a talking urinal page. I'll let you listen to it for a second.
Hey, listen up. That's right, I'm talking to you. Had a few drinks? Maybe a few too many. Then do yourself and everyone else a favor. Call a sober friend or a cab. Oh, and don't forget, wash your hands.
They are, this is motion activated, so if you walked in front of or if you were at the urinal, this message would play. And if you were drunk enough that you had to look around and really think about where this voice is coming from, then you may start to question and think, actually, this is some good advice. So just a prompt at that point, it's a product that's created, it's at that place of decision to help you maybe think about your choices. And then this is another one, this is a breathalyzer machine in a restaurant in Montreal. So if you think you've had too many, you can order or whatever, blow into it and see if actually you should be driving or not. So that's something that maybe you feel like, oh, I'm fine, but I'll check it just in case, and then you realize actually that this is so just some quick examples of that. So now we're out of time. What questions do you have for me? Yeah?
I was curious about framing. It seems like the way we talked about it in this time is a very active decision, and there's a need to learn. But I'm wondering, can it still be called framing if it's passive and it's not intended, but say you're looking back on something or analyzing this content and you're like, oh, look, this is how this was framed.
It's a two-way street, yeah. So you can try to influence the frames. There are frames that are already out there in media. So this is from a strategic communications perspective. But yeah, it's already being framed. Any issue is already being framed some type of way in media. So if you're looking at how to change the frame, you need to understand what the frame even is. And to see how it's being used. So yes, it's great. Yeah.
Has anybody done any work on looking at what sorts of frames work with certain populations and compare different techniques of framing?
And
which ones that don't come up,
yeah,
and others that are more effective?
Well, there's even different approaches to framing. So in psychology, another big approach that's more from a psychology perspective is gain loss framing. And so that's been studied a lot. So if you frame it as a gain or if you frame it as a loss, you'll find a lot of research out there that uses the framing theory about that. So it's the prospect theory is what it's called. And so a lot of times if you are framing something, depending on the context, as a loss, maybe reaction to freedom or things like that, versus if it's framed as a win, and then that might seem more, oh, I'm getting something out of this. But in terms of audiences, yes, I think a lot of the research that we've done, we try to look at what frames the audiences already have, their own lens, how are they viewing this issue, and then how can we shift that based on their values and they consider to be. And so it really does depend on your audience segment. So that kind of goes back to that initial, what makes campaigns effective. But I would say there's definitely not a one size fits all, which makes it's not a single bullet. It's something you really have to do your research on first. Yes. Oh.
Could you talk a little bit about emotional appeal?
Yeah.
Particularly, I'm thinking about in highway safety or in Vision Zero, which are efforts by cities to eliminate all serious fatal traffic deaths. So, my question for you is, in some instances, telling stories can be really powerful, right? You hear from someone who lost a loved one, and they are calling for action. On the other hand, it seems like there are times when things can get so emotionally heavy that there may be a risk that people sort of do a mental bailout because they can't handle it.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like that fear relationship, that extreme versus like moderate versus too little. You do kind of want that right amount. So it can't be too much so that people can really check out. There's some great research on narrative as well, so if you're interested in narratives. There's some research that I've looked at in crisis recovery that actually looks at different types of narratives. So you have the victim narrative, and that's usually more sad, that kind of thing, the blame narratives. So if you're blaming someone else, you're trying to be angry, you can take action. So they are kind of all tapped into different emotions. There's like narratives for community recovery, renewal, rebuilding, people kind of coming together. And there's not a lot of effectiveness yet for those specific different types of narrative, but there is a lot of research. Jeff Duffy does a lot of research on narratives versus statistics and different kinds of narratives. and has been able to show some very helpful communication that's for narrative. So I do think narratives are effective. Yes, they can't be too emotional. They have to actually be emotional enough that you can have narrative transportation. They have to be believable and credible, one, so you have to feel like you're in the situation, the scenario, you can connect with it. So that's usually something we test in our research is if there's effective transportation. And then you don't want too much fear, especially without efficacy.
So, in doing some public health work at the county level and local state, we talked about the Framework Institute, a group who does this. I'm wondering, for folks going to the research, like, if I'm planning a campaign around traffic safety, different things, rather than going straight to journals, like some folks have already done this, parsed it out, and then are doing it. So, are there other groups besides thinking of the Framework Institute that do sort of a pattern review type survey? So we've already done this, we've already sliced it, and you want to substantiate that in your own population, because there's new case studies.
I don't know any others off the top of my head. There may be some out there. But I don't know if there's a theory to kind of moving very along and not making unfortunately, it's also the same that. So maybe you can do that.
Are there any early, findings on the talk about things campaign, the talk to people about the race? I think those had been some of them were clear. Maybe seeing really just one about the commercial that I can think of two. One commercial shows like a teenager in a coffin, but it zooms out and you realize that it's her daughter and her funeral because she. And then there's another one where you just see a girl pass on the party, and they're very serious. I'm just curious if they work because they're appealing to the parents of the child. They're not trying to scare the kids, they're trying to scare the parents into talking.
I don't know about that specific campaign, but I would say that research in parents, most anything, if you're looking at actually asking you to take behavior, or if you're asking a parent to take behavior on behalf of their child, it's going to be more effective. Because a lot of the health research shows, you can ask the person to go to doctor relationships. Sometimes they do some things they don't. They won't come to their kids. They usually won't be complied with their kids and that kind of thing. So they're less likely. They feel like they're too busy because they don't feel like they're too busy to be with their kids. So I think in that context, it's still extreme fear. It can be unbelievable. So if they think it's unlikely to happen, but it's probably a better motivator for a parent than for a teen. And teens in general, they feel invincible. Oftentimes they don't really think the consequences like that is possible, so it's really important to have. And one more point. So I mentioned the Office of National Drug Control and Policy and the anti-drug PSA campaign and how it was not effective because it used overt guilt. In that example, when they revamped their campaign, what they did for teens was social norms. So their campaigns were much milder. They were somebody passes out at a party because they used too much drugs, and then people just drew on their face and took a picture of them and do theirs, something like that. Much milder, more believable, and more mortifying. Because we were much more worried about that than they were about, somebody drowning in the pool, like their siblings they weren't watching them. They didn't think that was really something that was happening to them. But you could see being embarrassed or having a social life continue. So really, that's part of the audience. Social norms are really effective for that audience segment. For a lot of the research shows there are really different.
So, Seth was a thinly veiled compliment to a lot of the people who were here who actually worked on Click Your Ticket when it first started. So we're actually at a point where a lot of people too are going to be working on revamping that. And so figuring out how to take a successful campaign that needs to be reworked and figure out how to make it work for the next group of people who it's kind of the norm that Click Your Ticket, everybody knows that, but doesn't mean anything anymore. Do you have any examples of campaigns that have been revamped successfully, or any tips for people who might be working on that to things to consider?
I don't know of any where it's noticeable enough that you know, like this is the old, this is the new. Usually it just looks like a new, so you don't really know that. Oh, actually, except for the concept. That was just a bad and then a good. You know, it was not. It wasn't effective, and now a new version. Some of the really effective ones, like Click It or Ticket. I mean, it just kind of rolls off your tongue, like sticks in your brain. It's like pencil in a French restaurant. It's like it's going to be a forever for people in their brains, right? So I think that kind of thing has lasting impact. And yeah, it may not create behavior change anymore, but it becomes part of your kind of internal knowledge. And maybe tickets, you're not worried about tickets or something else is changing. But in terms of revamping, I don't know if my head would be interested in that and see if, so I don't know if we're, I know some for corporate campaigns where they try to revamp things in terms of the issues with that. I should think about, I could think about some more maybe.
Just to tag along on that. So Click It or Ticket is very effective. CPO use is very low.
Yeah.
Across the country, but now CPO use is like 100%.
It's high enough.
So we're having a hard time reaching the last 50% of the population. It looks like that standard Click It or Ticket communication strategy isn't reached.
Yeah, that extra. So there's also the fusion of innovations theory. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It looks like this curve of like early adopters all the way up to laggards. So you're in the laggards, the people who are like may never adopt. Sometimes they can't reach them. They don't want to be reached. They are off the grid. They're not really off the grid, but they just refuse adamantly for whatever reason, or they just care. So if you're looking for 100% seatbelt usage or something like that, sometimes it's not realistic or not potential from the research that I've seen. But you would have to think about their different audience segments, so they do need a different strategy, right? So for them, I think you have to understand why aren't they? Is it because they just don't care? Is it because they are anti-law, anti-government establishment? What is their underlying motivation? The reason for not? And I think you have to figure out what they're doing. And I don't know what that would be. It would be fascinating. I would love to be like a file along the room and see talk to some of those people. But they probably wouldn't. I would say a lot of them. Well, some of them would admit that they proudly do not wear a seatbelt, probably. And some of them probably wouldn't just get much conversation. Yeah.
Another question, but also a question. If I can think about, I'm wondering about the demographics of who's not using. So, like, I feel like I'm doing work with like law enforcement relationships and traffic stop. So, wondering about urban rural differences in seatbelt usage and demographic differences.
Yeah.
For who does the ticket work well with? But my question to you was more about funding. So I feel like, at the state health department, sometimes there have been like really not enough interventions on one side, and then there's mass media campaigns that ends up being movies in the health department, late movies. And that's great, but so I feel like sometimes mass media campaigns are touted as very financially efficient, which I don't think they always are, but we just talk about, it seems like sometimes it's a little bit of hand, you're not doing the work to really do a mass media campaign, so the funding.
So funding in terms of where the funding comes from, if
in comparison, it's not an either or with other interventions, but it is a intervention, and so how does it either get funded the way it needs to be funded, or underfunded, or?
Well, so if you think about public campaigns and you compare them to corporate campaigns, people in this field always say you have a fraction of the dollars for corporate campaigns. And now sometimes you can work with folks like ad council, folks like that, they create USA campaigns, they do pro bono, folks like that. So that's kind of an option to get really top-notch design skills and things like that. But really, usually the public campaigns are limited often in terms of the reach, the design, and that. Because really to get prime placement, you have to pay for placement. So yes, stations have to air PSAs, But they don't have to air them at a time that people are actually watching them. They could air it at 3 in the morning, or they could air it whenever they choose to. So there are factors like that at play. So you do usually have to pay quite a bit, even if, this is a public or non-profit cause, to get the best placement, to get the best the change. So usually the campaigns that are the most effective by following that logic. But not always, right? So I keep going back to the DCP, but that's because they spent a lot of money on that campaign on the first round, and it's not successful, right? So even if you have bad message design, it's still ineffective. And then there's a lot of money that's even heard the future funding for studies like that, or for campaigns like that. A lot of the funding for these kinds of things seems to be more of the federal government office for these bigger campaigns, and some of them aren't great. They have funding for the implementation, they don't have funding for the evaluation. So they actually aren't doing a process evaluation, they don't know if it's being effective as it goes, and they're not doing an evaluation at the end, they've only seen the effects. They need to be doing an evaluation research, and they report part of the results, they don't report other parts of the results, so there's a big stack, because they're spending money on, taxpayer money on this, those kinds of things. So I don't know if I really answered your question, I can talk around it, but I think there are a lot of challenges in that. Interventions themselves, where you're changing the structures and systems and things like that, may be more costly if you're creating new products or new systems or things like that. But you have to do that customer analysis and see what it is. And I do think if it's like so trying to get individual behavior change on that scale, do that rather than some other methods. But really, you're still looking at this knowledge percentage that's based on this content. So is that percent change worth and it's hard because you could do it lives, right? You could say, well, if you save lives, is it worth it? And so that's part of the argument too.
I just wanted to add a comment. I'm familiar with the observational surveys they've done over many years on click it or ticket. And that last 9 or 10% who are fairly difficult to reach have been largely males driving SUVs and pickups, which probably doesn't surprise anyone, but exactly what can be done, no one has found the right frame to reach them. They've tried race car people, NASCAR, different kinds of athletes and stuff. They try to direct
sensation seekers. If that's who they might fit in that profile category. There's been research on sensation seekers and drug users. People just like the thrill, the rush to get them on the wrist. So that could be relevant if they fit in that. I don't know if they're really in that profile.
We've been locked into about 90% for about the last 7 or 8 years.
90%.
Very between 89 and 90%. So we're doing really well, but that last 8 or 9% are really difficult to do. We haven't found it.
Yeah. It may be attainable. But maybe not be.
Do you think social norms approach has useful since
I think social norms have been very good. I didn't put them in here, but they're one of the more effective. There's a cool hygiene campaign. It's called Talk to the Good Guy. I don't know if you've seen this. This is based in Florida, the Department of Florida Public Health Department. They say, wanted to do pandemic flu prevention for swine flu. And they said, okay, we're going to hire a marketing firm, we're going to prevent flu. And the marketing firm was like, what does that look like? What does that mean? How do you prevent pandemic flu? And so the Department of Health said, well, actually what we want to do is we just want to create good hygiene practices. These are the things that you can do. Stay home when you're sick, you can wash your hands, these kinds of things. So the marketing firm said, okay, we can do that. And so they did a social norms, and it was kind of parodying the office, to show the office. And so it was this guy, and he walked around the office with a urinal chained to a handcuff to his wrist. And he'd be walking, like going, like shake people's hands and stuff. He would try to, and everybody was like, somebody needs to talk to the fifth guy. And it was like 4 out of 5 people wash their hands when they go to the bathroom. Somebody needs to talk to the fifth guy. That was kind of like the joke. And it was like a creative campaign. They had one of their interns be the fifth guy, and he would like go out to malls and places with a urinal. Try to shake people's hands. And they had great effectiveness for that because it was really that urinal in his hand was a really visual representation of the fact that he was clearly violating the social norm, right? You know, he was the outlier, the good guy, and you should wash your hands. And they did some cool observation, like they did before the campaign and after the campaign, they hung out in restrooms and watched like how many people wash their hands and all kinds of things like that. They also have the same things that they did. Yeah, for adult males in an office setting, social media is too. So that's kind of it's happened to whatever more happens. That's a fun campaign if you ever want to. It's called Talk to the Good Guy. And I use it in my campaigns classes for students. And I tell them that he was a student intern, because they're like, how could you ever want that internship?
All right, on the hygiene note, I think we're out of time now. But thank you very much for joining me. And we have reflection sheets. Everyone should be either sitting on one or have one in their lap. If you want to fill that out and kind of put it in the back there when you're finished, that'd be great.
Yeah.